Hey guys, so if you knit or crochet or spin or weave or dye or any combination of the above, this might resonate with you. There is a unique challenge that seems to plague those of us who love more than one craft, and that is this feeling that there's never enough time to do all the things that we want to do, and we get caught up feeling very much like we need to do all of the things all at the same time. It's exhausting and it feels like we get nowhere. So surely there is another way of looking at things. Hey guys, thank you guys so much for being here. I am Felicia from SweetGeorgia Yarns, and we are a hand-dyed knitting yarn company here in Vancouver, Canada. Now, you might have this same feeling that I have. You know, you love to knit and you love to spin. You love to do lots of different crafts, and it sometimes feels like you're a little bit all over the place, lots and lots of different projects, lots of half-started projects, lots of half-baked ideas, half-executed ideas, and if you love more than one craft, I'm here for you. And I think that you might want to hear this. This is kind of something that I've started to formulate over the past several years. And I've started to look at things in terms of seasons of craft, not necessarily literal seasons, but seasons, you know, things that kind of come and go and ebb and flow. And there is an ebb and flow to everything. So a couple of weeks ago, Kelly Casanova, who runs a YouTube channel and she has her own online school where she teaches weaving. She started initially with rigid heddle weaving, but now she does all sorts of different kinds of weaving. So Kelly Casanova wanted to interview me for her blog, which was fantastic. But one of the questions was to list out how many looms I have and what I have to work on. And, you know, normally I think about, oh yeah, you know, I got the big looms, I got the spring here, I got the baby wolf here, and I got a new loom downstairs this year. And then I started to like list out some more things, and it was like, well, we got a couple of rigid heddle looms in here, and we got a couple of frame looms, and it started to kind of like grow. The list started to grow. And now, as I was thinking about all of these looms and these pieces of equipment, I felt very much a little bit anxious about making sure that I'm productive on all of them, you know, like feeling like this loom has to be warped up and that loom has to be warped up, and they each have to be warped up and working at the same time, and that spinning wheel should be going, and since that spinning wheel is not working, then, you know, like that I'm not making the fullest and best use of this. We've talked about this previously in a minimalism episode. I think that we talked about this, but very much feeling like I have to keep all the looms humming, all the wheels turning, and just like I have to have knitting projects on the go. People very frequently say you have to have a complicated lace project on the go, and then a simple project, an easy hat project, and then maybe like a sock project in your purse or something like that. Just something all the time. And kind of, it feels like when, you know, not all of these things are up and running and working and buzzing, that somehow it feels like the whole process gets dragged down, and that you're not doing all the things that you want to do. You're not getting to all of the things that you want to get to. I feel like that's when we have to stop and think that maybe we need a different mental model around this whole thing, because this is not an emotionally sustainable way to be a maker. This is not an emotionally sustainable way to enjoy your craft. It's not enjoyable to feel like you're always behind, that you can never do all the things that you want to do. So here is the mental model that I have been advocating for craft, and specifically for people who are multicraftual, people who like more than one craft. I mean, if you're a knitter, you might also suffer from this same thing where you feel like you have to have a complicated lace project on the go, and a sweater project, and a shawl project, and a sock project, like all of these things happening all at the same time. And if you can't do them all, then you're somehow falling behind. So I feel like the answer actually lies in this concept of a circle, or the concept of a cycle, the concept of seasons, the concept of going through an iterative process. Creativity is an iterative process. It goes through the same stages each time. There's ideation, preparation, execution, in evaluation, right? Ideation is coming up with ideas. What am I going to make? Looking on Ravelry, looking for inspiration, looking at Pinterest, coming up with ideas, thinking about what could I do? What could I do? Preparation is about pulling together your supplies and your materials and your yarn, pulling it all out, looking at it. Is this what I'm going to do? Am I getting ready for the thing that I'm going to make? And then execution is the actual work of putting the warp on the loom, throwing the shuttle, knitting the stitches, spinning the bobbin, plying the yarn. That's execution. And then there's the process of evaluation. You take it off the loom, you wash it, you block it, you wash your yarn, you finish your thing, and then you look at it, and then you say, is this what I wanted to make? What could I do differently next time? Are there things that I like about it? Are there things that I hate about it? What could I do better next time? What have I learned from this process? And then out of that, hopefully new ideas will generate, and you'd be like, oh, well, next time I want to use this kind of yarn instead. This time I want to do it at this density, this gauge. This time I want to add blah, blah, blah. This time I want to make it longer, shorter, whatever it is. It's an iteration of what you've done before. You know, I think as creative people, we want things to be fun all the time. You know, what's exciting? Picking new projects is exciting. Casting on is exciting. Buying yarn is exciting. All of that stuff is fun and exciting. You know, but the actual execution part, the part where, you know, you have to knit 17 inches of stockinette, that part is a little bit like, And so when it's so exciting to start new projects, start new fibers, then you end up with a basket like this, full of bobbins that have all been started for different projects that have not been plied. So this is my idea for solution. And it's the idea of making a bigger circle, making a bigger creative cycle, making what I call seasons of craft. The idea being that not every season is good for everything. You know, like this season right now where it's hot in the attic, where it's muggy in the attic, it's not a good season for weaving on the floor loom in the attic. It is a good season for being outside in the backyard, in the sunshine, maybe with my spinning wheel outside, maybe with my dye pots outside. It's a different season for different crafts. And so with the change in season, you get a change in scenery, you get a change in the texture and the feel and the novelty. The novelty comes because you're changing with the seasons. So like when I think about making hand-dyed yarn for knitting or hand-dyed yarn for weaving, hand-dyed fiber for spinning, it is not efficient to dye one skein, knit one skein, dye one skein, knit one skein. It totally makes sense to dye a whole bunch of yarn, and maybe you dye, you know, over a couple of weeks, 2 months out of the year, and then you have enough yarn to last you for the next 6 months of knitting or the next 6 months of weaving or spinning or whatever. So in this way, you can iterate your creative process around dyeing very rapidly. You know, like over a course of 2 months, you can be dyeing different yarns and then trying new ideas, looking at each skein, evaluating, did I do a good job? What would I do differently? And then do another dye batch and do another dye batch and do another dye batch. And just over 2 months, iterate very rapidly through that creative cycle of dyeing. And then once you've finished with those 2 months, then you move on to, now I'm going to knit with all those skeins. Now I'm going to knit this shawl. What would I do differently? What would I change the next time I knit a shawl? Maybe I do a different shape. There's so many different things that you can do with a longer creative cycle. I got originally this idea from a book that I read, and it was about natural dyeing. It was written by Trudy Van Stralen, who originally owned Louette Sales in Canada. And she was a weaver and a spinner and a dyer and all these things. And I remember reading about how she would dye all summer long. So that way she would have wool to spin in the fall, and then she would have yarn to weave in the winter. It totally makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. And that concept has always really stuck with me. This idea that different seasons are suited to different things. There's like this very natural seasonal change because wool is only available to be sheared at certain times of the year. It absolutely makes sense. You dye when the wool is available. You spin when the wool has been dyed, and then you weave when the yarn has been spun. It is the cycle. It's a bigger cycle. So I'm encouraging you, if you feel this frustration that you're not able to spin and dye and weave and do all the things all the time, you don't need to. it can be very much a much more relaxing process. And you think about, you do all these things, you have skills, and you will master all of these different techniques. You don't necessarily need to have the loom going and the spinning wheel going and the knitting projects going. Like, you don't need to have all of the things happening all at the same time. You can do all of the crafts. You can enjoy every single thing, but they don't all have to be at the same time. Just take them one after another. So I encourage you to look at your sort of multi-craftual passions in this way. Think about how you can rapidly iterate through each one of these different crafts that you enjoy. So if you like dyeing, maybe just intensely focus on dyeing different things, iterating, trying to create different ways of dyeing, and focus on that. Develop real mastery in that, and then move to the next thing. So maybe you're going to spin with all the fiber that you dyed, or knit with all the yarn that you've dyed. And then those decisions that you make about knitting or spinning are going to then go back and inform how you dye the next time you go and sit down and do your dyeing. So it's very much like all of these crafts inform each other, but you don't need to do them all at the same time. If you are a knitter and you focus entirely only on knitting, maybe the way that this applies to you is that in the summer you just knit shawls, and in the fall and winter you just knit sweaters, or vice versa, so that you have something to wear in each one of those seasons. But you go through a seasonality of the kinds of textures and the kinds of materials that you want to feel in your hands. Very often people tell me that they don't want to knit with wool in the summertime because it's too muggy and hot and sticky. So you want to knit with linen, or you want to knit with silk, or you want to knit with cotton, or whatever it is you want to work with during those summer months. And in the winter, it feels good to have like a big sweater project on your lap, keeping you warm as you watch TV or something like that. Of course, then you have nothing to wear for those seasons. So I think that giving your hands something new to feel each season, new textures, new colors, new feeling, from fiber into yarn through spinning, yarn into fabric through weaving, like all of these things, you can enjoy all of it. It just doesn't all have to be at the same time, and you can develop mastery through all these things. So I hope that this video has given you guys a little bit of encouragement if you are in the similar situation as me, feeling very much like, I love knitting, I love spinning, I love weaving, I love dyeing, I love all these things. How am I going to do them all? How am I going to get to do them all? Well, you don't have to do them all at the same time. One informs the next. They will each build upon each other in this very big iterative cycle. You will develop mastery. You will develop and improve your skills and abilities. You will get to express all that creativity and enjoy the feel of that yarn and fiber in your hands every minute of the process. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This has actually been a topic that's been on my mind for quite some time. I get a lot of emails from people saying that I just feel like I just don't have enough time to do all the things that I want to do, and that everybody says, I love knitting, I love something else and something else and something else. So I would love to ask you guys what you guys do to manage all the different crafts and all of the different passions that you have. How do you manage your time? I've actually put together a little survey, and you can find the link down below in the description. So basically, I would love for you guys to go to that link and then write to me and tell me, what are the things that you love? What are the frustrations that you have around doing all those things? And then how do you manage to overcome those challenges? I'm actually going to be compiling all of your answers together into a little resource that we can share with everybody and just show people that, in fact, you do have time. It's going to be okay. Now, if you guys are interested in learning more about any of the fiber arts that I talked about, and weaving and spinning and dyeing and knitting, all of those things, you can always find us at the School of Sweet Georgia. We're creating content every month to do with learning new skills in each one of these areas. And as well, if you're looking for new yarn to start a new project, we have a massive sale that is going on right now at the Sweet Georgia shop, and that is 20% off any yarn or Party of 5 mini skein set. So 20% off, you'll need the coupon code MAYSURPRISE20, and then that's going to go on until May 27th, and then that's the end of the sale. If you would like to see more videos like this, please do hit subscribe and you'll get notified when new videos go live. Please hit like if you like this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I will see you guys in the next one.